Let's take a look at Apple versus the rest of the market. I'm Jill Malandrino with the Street's Options Profits.
And I'm Marc Sperling with T3 Live.
Marc, before we get into the actual Apple play, what's the SPY doing? Can you give us a couple levels that we could take a look at?
Yeah, sure. Right now, we have been in a very, very tight range, a wedge pattern, so to speak, from a technical point of view, that has worked itself to the downside at this point in time based on yesterday's action. And I'm looking at roughly 122.50 as some support. I know we're down a little bit this morning, and then a little bit harder support, 120 in the spiders. And if we come back up to the 120, 124, 124.50, that now becomes a little bit of resistance accordingly, because we are working ourselves to the downside after this breaking to the downside of this wedge.
So in terms of Apple versus the rest of the market, from a long-term perspective, at least moving through the holiday season into January, I tend to be more bullish on Apple versus the market overall. I think we have a lot of macro headwinds that we have to face. I think that the risk might be a little bit more systemic overseas and here than we might necessarily be pricing in. However, with Apple, they tend to have a strong holiday season. iPhone 4S sales orders are actually way more than they had expected. So I think there's more tailwinds behind them versus the market overall. So how would we position Apple for a short-term trade and even maybe a little bit longer out over the next few weeks?
You can't bet against Apple, period. End of story. Take that to wherever you want to take it to. It's worked for many quarters. It's going to continue to work. The key is, how do you get involved from a technical point of view? And from what I'm looking at on the daily chart, you're looking at 378 at this point in time is buyable. Understanding where the 200-day, possibly if you get a downturn in this market, continued downturn, 365 could be the point. But at the same time, that would be buyable with two hands. Understanding that Apple should have a good quarter going into the holiday season, and it normally tops out when a new product is launched, hence the iPhone, the new iPhone. So what I'm looking at is roughly, I'm going to continue trying to buy it around 378, 375. I'll continue to probably try to sell it, meaning take my profits around 390, 392. And at some point, it's going to recover above this 400 range, which again will be for us a chance that it's going to make a new all-time high, which is what it always does.
And from the options perspective, and Mark Sebastian from OptionProfits is going to give us our options play, but there's a new product that the NASDAQ introduced called Alpha Index Options. And essentially what that does is it takes a systemic risk out of the directional bias of what you're thinking of the underlying stock. Essentially, what we're going to look at is AVSPY. It's Apple versus the SPY. And if you have a bullish perspective on Apple, you could do bullish call spread, and that takes out the risk of the market going down while you think Apple's going to go up. And again, we'll turn to Mark for more specifics on that trade. So going forward, we're a little bit cautious on the market. We like Apple going through the holiday season.
Yeah, I mean, again, market obviously lots of indecision. It seems like it's working itself to the downside. Apple has actually underperformed the S&Ps over the last few weeks. I like that historically because, again, you cannot bet against Apple. You want to get it when, obviously, everybody's not on one side of the table. And right now, there's a little bit of indecision there. Is Apple, it's underperforming. Steve Jobs obviously passed away. Is Apple done or is Apple taking a rest? Remains to be seen, but I'm a big believer that the Apple product is still going to keep going, and you look for opportunities on the pullback. Everybody's going to be buying it at 420. Why not get it a little bit of a discount anywhere from, if again, 480, 490, you might have to sit for a little bit, and obviously if it even gets a better discount than that at 465, which would be the 200-day, then you have to go in a little heavier and sit on your hands and wait for everything to take place.
Right, there's a lot of uncertainty out of the stock. It's a great time for investors to get in who haven't been involved and for those to add to positions going forward. Thank you very much, Mark.
No problem.